So I'm super excited to talk about life, alchemy, and healing. I read this really nice quote yesterday from Esther Perel, and she was talking about how it can look like, or it can be helpful, to think we need to go into our trauma in order to heal from the trauma. And then she said, or we can heal by creating a new experience for ourselves. And that is really where life alchemy comes in. Because what we get with a self-creating reality paradigm is that we get to see that there isn't any past other than what we think of it. So just to kind of, I suppose, go back to the beginning, like, why would we want to heal? What's healing? And the only thing I can really sort of see there is that we want to be having a different experience. Why would we want to heal? Because we don't like how we're experiencing life now. So we want to be having a different experience. And I think it's a really common misconception that we need to deal with our trauma in order to be creating a new experience for ourselves. And so that's really where, that's the liberation. It's the liberation to see that we can give ourselves permission to create a new experience for ourselves, and that has the impact of being healing. So we don't need to go back into the past. We don't need to re-traumatize ourselves, because actually the only thing that's really here is now. Because that bully from, let's just take an example, like that bully when you were 10 can't actually be impacting your life now. But what you think about yourself because of what they said, that can be impacting your life. So really that's what we're looking for liberation from, and that's what life alchemy gives us. When we see that we're not unconfident because we were bullied, we see that we made stuff up about ourselves that may or may not be true because we were bullied. And that gives us the power in the moment to then redefine, to then open ourselves to having a different experience. And then that is the healing, that's the healing process. So when we can see that we are the ones holding this definition, and that definition needn't define us because we just made it up and we're just perpetuating it. It's got no more weight or truth than that. But because we've been living in this experience of reinforcing it, it looks like a fact. So take like shyness or low confidence. Because we've decided that about ourselves, we've then lived however many years with confirmation bias for what we've decided about ourselves. So then in every situation, we'll just be collecting evidence as to why we're low confident, why we're shy. Look at all of these people that say I'm shy, I must be shy. So that's the way that it sort of worked. So when we can see that we're in a self-creating moment-to-moment experience, we suddenly see that, oh, I've held this idea and then I've reinforced it to myself, but it was no more than an idea. It was never a fact. And so we get this, when we learn to rest in that place of infinite possibility, which is what we get in touch with when we recognize that it's self-creating. We get in touch with that part of us that's the creator, that part of us that's connected to infinite possibility. That's what we get in touch with. And then that's how, in any given moment, we can open ourselves to having a new experience, to redefinition. And I think redefinition internally is really what healing is. When we're looking at anything we've made up about ourselves, we're really just looking to redefine it in a way that feels good for us. Really what we're looking for in healing is, I want a life that feels like love, and I'm not getting that because I'm not healed. So that's kind of a weird, if we think about it in the terms of the self-creating reality, then we can see that we have the power to be creating what we want to create, and we innocently don't, obviously. Like, we are completely innocent in what we're creating and what we're taking seriously, and it looks really like reality to us. but I am shy. I don't have confidence. But we don't need to, from that place, spend hours talking about what happened to make us believe that. All we need to access is the freedom to start believing something else. And that might start with just the softening of the edges, because those big definitions tend to have lots and lots of layers and lots of places that you've proved to yourself in your life that it's true. So I'm shy when there's lots of people. I'm shy when I'm in a new place. I'm shy when, I'm shy when. And so you have all of these little places that you've defined yourself. And then we will be living within this, looking to confirm it. So what we get to do when we understand this paradigm is we get to come into the moment and we get to see the fallibility of what we might believe about ourselves. And then we get to step into the room and see what's actually true. So, oh yeah, I actually felt all right. Or I felt shy, but I didn't take it quite so seriously. So we get to just slowly soften. Life becomes the therapist. What we want to do becomes the therapist, becomes our own therapy. Like, oh, I really want to go and do this thing, but I can't because this thing. Or I want to be I want to be an author, but in order to be an author, I'll need to go to book promotions, and then I won't want to do that because I'm shy. We get to have this experience of like, oh, I can do the thing, and I don't know that the other thing will be hard. I don't know that that's true. So we get to be drawn by our desire to create love. We get to be drawn by our desire to create the life that we want, to include the things that we want. We get to be drawn by that. And then life will show us where we're holding ourselves back. Life will show us where we've got resistance. And if we can connect to the infinite possibility when we meet that resistance, we get to see that there's way less problems than we thought. There's way more things that are just quite fun than we thought. And that to me is a healed perspective. To know that we can handle life, to know that we can come into life, express ourselves, and not feel encumbered by our beliefs, but like we can play with them. That to me is healed, because there's not some perfect finished human, because the whole thing is a journey. The whole thing is for the joy of transformation from this state to that state. If we are here, and I believe we're here to have the experience of being alive, then the ultimate pleasure, the ultimate satisfaction as a human being is to transform one thing into another, one state into another, to grow, to change. And if you look at the human lifespan, we all inevitably grow and change, and our psychology inevitably evolves in that time. It's just how much we accidentally put the brakes on that and cause ourselves suffering, and how much we lean into the flow and the evolution and what we can enjoy, what we can expand to encompass in our lives. That for me was one of the greatest gifts of being so ill and having such a potentially short time span to live, was, well, if I'm not going to be here for a long time, I want to be here fully now. And that to me is the definition of a life well lived. How much can we hold? How much can we hold each experience in each moment? And how much can we show up as ourselves, in congruence, in truth, in authenticity, in alignment? And for me, Life Alchemy offers this. It's a paradigm shift. I can't give you that, but I can offer you the paradigm in which that's possible. So that's my small chat on life, alchemy, and healing. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. I'd love to hear any thoughts you have on this topic. Yeah, thank you for watching.